Hey everybody, welcome back to another Judgment commentary of Monogatari series 2nd season, but today we're going to be beginning the next part of this season, Otorimonogatari. Of course, last time we saw the end of Kabuki Monogatari, and well, there's a lot I'm gonna have to talk about there, so buckle in for that one. For starters, right at the very beginning of the episode, as Araragi and Shinobu were being surrounded by the zombie husk things, all of a sudden they were rescued by someone throwing a bunch of rice all over them, because it is a documented weakness of vampires and things like that if you scatter rice or anything else like that around them, that they have to stop and count it. And since they are still vampires, I guess the weakness still applies. But the one who saved them was Mayoi. Yeah, friggin' Mayoi survived the apocalypse. She's still around. Friggin' serendipity right there, man. That the one person Araragi tried to save was one of the only ones who managed to survive. And she was even told by Oshino to keep an eye out for Araragi and Shinobu, because even in this altered timeline, Oshino managed to piece together that they had traveled back to the past and messed with history. He had quantified that just based on everything that was going on. So he said to watch out for them and give him a letter, which told him everything that had happened in this timeline, and Shinobu was actually a little bit off the mark in terms of what happened. She thought that she would have killed herself in this timeline, and while she tried, she wasn't able to. She kept trying to kill herself, but she couldn't quite do it, so her rampage continued on, leaving Oshino and a few other vampire hunters that he was acquainted with to try and take her out, but, well, they failed. And all of the vampire zombie husk things that have been roaming around are not, vampires who lost their minds because Shinobu killed herself. No, they were just failed clones of herself. She tried to make, copies of copies over and over and over, and then they just turned into that. Left with this information, Araragi and Shinobu decided that the only thing they could do now was try to kill Shinobu. Or this timeline Shinobu, kiss shot as she were. Now, of course, they'd be completely screwed in a head-on fight against the most powerful being in the universe, but it was their only option at this point. It's all or nothing. Either they take her out and everybody gets turned back to normal and they can leave, or they die. Or so they thought. But once they did call her attention and they were armed with the frickin' apparition-killing swords, they were ready to throw down, but she wasn't. Upon seeing them, Kishot decided to help them out, to help them return to their original timeline, because even when suicidal and at the end of her rope, seeing herself and Araragi from another timeline gave her just enough hope that she wanted to help them out a bit. Or something like that. That's a bit of a watered down variation of it, but you get it. And so she gave herself up to Shinobu so that she could drain the life energy out of her, and they could use that to return to their proper time. And hey, just doing that also helped a lot of other people, because with her now gone, all of the failed vampires get to turn back to normal. So the world is saved, and Shinobu gets to, move on and go to the afterlife. Maybe chill with that timeline's Araragi. Who knows? Now here's the thing though. I said that this is still technically going to be a very bleak timeline because Araragi's dead, and as such, Hanekawa would be dead because Senjigahara would kill her when she found out what happened. Well, no, not really, because good news for her, I guess. She wouldn't have to worry about Senjigahara killing her, because Shinobu would have already killed her by this point. Big time. I had not considered that. That, of course, Shinobu didn't really care for the cat that much anyway. I mean, she nearly killed her back in Neko Monogatari Black when she was draining the life out of her, but you would imagine that when she found out that she killed Araragi, she wouldn't just kill her, she'd probably just eat her alive right then and there. So yeah, Hanekawa's dead in this timeline. Don't have to worry about Senjigahara doing it. Shinobu already took care of that day one. So now Araragi's back. He met up with Mayoi. They did the role reversal thing where she tackled him and started throwing him up in the air. They turned him into a ragdoll. Happy ending. And speaking of this arc, this one's going to be Nadeko Medusa. Yeah, the return of Nadeko, as well as there being a Medusa involved. Interesting. We last saw Nadeko as a central focus in the series back in her arc near the end of Bake in episodes like what was it, 9 and 10 were focused on her. She had the shortest arc in Bake, tied with Senjugahara's with only 2 episodes. So there wasn't that much that really happened in it, but it was still an interesting arc. I went back and saw my reactions to the episodes just to try to refresh my memory, and there were definitely some questions left unanswered, some threads not yet followed. I'm still gonna be harping on that "I hate my body" thing that she said, because she said that and it didn't really get delved into. If they don't delve into it here, then that means the line was just about the Snake Prince and there's no greater meaning to it, but I'm still holding on strong that there is some greater meaning to it. For now, I'd say this opening part has dragged on way too long anyway, so let us just begin with the first episode of Decoy Story. Well dang, if that wasn't a very interesting episode, I don't know what was. Just wow. A lot of monologue from Nadeko, which was very, very interesting to hear. Going off about a lot of stuff. About how depressed she is and, you know, all the trauma she's felt and, you know, the victimization. That is a big hammered upon aspect of this, is her being a victim. And the snake in particular was saying there are no victims, there are only wrongdoers. I guess nothing bad will ever happen to somebody unless they've earned it sort of thing, which would mean they're not a victim. But I tend to disagree with you there, Snake. Bad things happen to good people. They do. And it's not because those good people have happened to do something bad. Sometimes bad things happen. And that makes you a victim. Doesn't mean you can't move forward, though. So yeah, I could have guessed. I mean, I thought it had happened way back when she was pinning the snakes to try to cure her curse. But apparently, that's coming back to bite her. And that this particular snake is mad. He's angry that she was pinning his comrades to a tree, and wants her to atone for this apparent sin. And she's just straight up willing to do it. She even said if she knew the outcome, if she knew what was actually going on, she still would have done it. Is she just feeling that low right now? Gosh. Let's spin back for a second and talk about Ogi, because why not talk about her? I should at least mention her this time, as opposed to when she first popped in. But anyway, she continues to be even more mysterious. In fact, I feel like I know less about her every time she shows up. She's just quite mystifying. She seems to know a lot. She was almost venturing into fourth wall-breaking territory. She already knew Nadeko's name, and she was thinking, how can I explain to her how I know her name without her freaking out? She was contemplating that. So why does she know? She seems to know a lot of things. She's just popping in at the beginning of arcs now just to set the stage. She is. And in fact, her stage setting, talking about the victims and wrongdoers thing, ended up just being called back to automatically by Nadeko. When the snakes started talking about it, she remembered when Ogi had mentioned it. So bringing up a lot of suspicious things about her. She seems to know a lot about what's going on and what's going to happen. She definitely knows more than she's letting on, but why? And to what extent? I mean, she's related to Oshino, we know that. Whether she's actually his niece or not, I'm gonna go ahead and believe her for now, until told otherwise. It's interesting, if she's his niece, that would imply a sibling of his is also in town, right? Unless she's not living with her parents. And they just had to do that thing that you do sometimes, you know, where they began this story at the end, where we saw just how horrible things could possibly become with this arc. If they will actually go down that dark path, I'm not entirely sure. She does seem pretty confident that it's going to go that badly, and it seems like she's even telling us this story in hindsight from the future, but she goes full aberration to the point where Araragi is just cemented in exterminating her, just taking her out, even though he was at death's door at that point. He had been poisoned by her, and his healing factor was no longer active, and he was missing 60% of his arm. And he and Shinobu just did one final charge right at her and just got raffle stomped so bad. It wasn't even funny, man. Just Shinobu just got tossed around, just tossed aside like nothing, and then his heart exploded. He can't come back from that unless he's got his healing factor. Without it, that's just instant death. I mean, she seemed to think it was funny. I don't know why. It's not funny, it's terrible. But, man, this stuff with this snake here, I don't know. This guy is bad news, obviously. Just whispering into her ear in a very Satan-esque fashion. It's not even just the fact that he's a serpent. He's really acting like the devil, man. This is straight up Genesis right here. What's he gonna have her do? Kill some people and pin them to trees and stuff instead? They seemed to treat her as if she had become a terrible threat and had done such bad things that even Araragi had given up and decided that she needed to go. Which is very unlike him. Well, if this ain't proven to be quite the interesting arc so far, man, just it's already starting off in a very different way compared to the Nadeko Snake arc. It's taken a huge step up, because I remember my consensus at the end of Nadeko Snake was that it wasn't the best arc, and it wasn't like the worst either. You know, I was a little unengaged with it for the most part by the time I had finished it, because it was so short, and they left open a lot of threads, and it just didn't feel like it had reached a conclusive finish. And now it looks like they're just going full force with this one. It didn't seem like Nadeko was a victim before her arc began. It didn't seem like she'd even done anything wrong, and that the snakes just, you know, came after her just because she happened to unintentionally spurn the advances of some random dude. And it almost seems like that element of it is just being played up as a big part of this arc, in that was she really a victim? Was she really a wrongdoer instead? Did she have it coming? I don't think she did, but maybe they're trying to at least make you question that. I would say the tables have turned in a very fascinating way when it comes to Nadeko's character. Man, we're gonna have to see how this all pans out. She does have a lot of intriguing points to her, but I'll find out more about that next time. So for now, that's gonna be it. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to leave a like and a comment if you enjoyed. Subscribe to be updated on more. That would be great. Next time, episode 2 of the Nadeko Medusa arc. What's interesting about this arc as well is that it is literally twice as long as Nadeko's previous arc. The last time was 2 episodes, this one is 4, so they're definitely going to be expanding upon it a bit. But that's all I got for now, guys. Like I said, hope you enjoyed, but till we meet again, I will see you guys later!